Good evening. This is a story from the edge, from the place where I walk between worlds, where ritual becomes medicine and sweat becomes memory. I'm Paula. I'm the host this evening for Death Walker Unscripted. Our topic tonight is ritual as remembrance, sweat as medicine. I'm a ritualist. I'm root-oriented with death planning. I use the earth wheel medicine, and I wanted to tell a story this weekend. I went to a sweat lodge, and of course, every time that I enter the sweat lodge, there's a vision quest, a remembering, if you will. So I often call myself a listener of the ancient whisper. This weekend, like I was saying, a sweat lodge. But for me, it was more of a adventure, a travel between one world to the next. So I kind of entitled this as I entered the womb of the earth. I really liked that. It spoke to me on so many levels, and it resonated, and it was something that sparked what I'm going to continue to talk about. A sweat lodge, a vision quest, of remembering, and that's kind of the order that it goes for me. The stones were red hot, ancient, and whispering. The steam rose like breath from the ancestors, and I always, whenever I do a sweat lodge or I do a vision quest, there's always a body trembling. My energy listening faculties become heightened, sitting in the dark with all those embers, wrapped in the pulse of something older than anything I could ever put into language or anything that I could ever express through a simple podcast like I'm doing tonight, but I'm going to do my best. I go to these places not for answers, but more for the unraveling of me, of maybe my latest death, maybe my latest self-care mode. And perhaps it's just something that I get, maybe I have a couple dreams, and, that's kind of how the sweat lodge came up. It kept telling me that my current self-care, I needed something deeper. I needed a remembering. Sitting in the dark, wrapped in the pulse of something, like I said, older than language, it's just phenomenal. And I go to these places for a soft unfolding of all I think I know. When I walk into the sweat lodge, even when I walk through day-to-day life, I still have this ego sense of I know it all. And when I go into the sweat lodge, when I usually have my vision quest, it really is an undoing. It's very soft and subtle. Sometimes it's thrashing me around like what I would imagine a shark would do if it was eating me, and just the thrashing and stuff. But most of the time it's just a soft unfolding, and it reminds me that I pretty much don't know as much as I think I know. And there's not always answers. A lot of times I walk in with this intuitive sense that there should be answers, there should be solutions. It doesn't occur that way a lot of times. And the reason for that, I think, is because walking with the dying, it's just not a service. It's my main purpose. It is a calling. It is a service. But there's a toll. There's a price to pay, just like for everything that is in this life, for everything that is what we call earth, for everything that what we experience, for getting to be in this beautiful organic meat bag that we are in, and experiencing everything that her earth has to offer in this time and space as a human being: light, dark, up, down, love, tolerance, empathy, the whole 9 yards. And so there's a toll, a price paid through, for me, the body. My bioorganic meat bag takes most of the brunt of this service, this calling that I do. The mind, it does, for me, it zaps some energy, or whatever name you want to give that part. I mean, you want to call it your soul, your spirit, your essence, of course. But for me, it's my vibration, it's my energy vibration that resonates more than my words will ever do, more than any of my writings will ever put. It's something that is connected cosmically to a web, to everybody and everything. It's just a vibration. And you can imagine it any way that you want. You can stretch it beyond the skin, beyond the bone structure, beyond any of that. Anyways, inside the lodge, I often, when I'm first getting started, there's a lot of ache for me. And I ache because it's a remembering, and I have a chance to release for the soul that maybe I just recently walked, or every soul that I have ever held. Sometimes it's just a flood of that. And there's been a lot of people that I have held their hands and held their loved ones' hands while, it was going on. So it's sometimes like the dam is bursting. I often get the weight of every breath I've ever witnessed leave. Some people would call this spirits. Some people would call these paranormal activities. For me, it's just breath, because breath, when someone takes their last breath, when someone breathes every time, again, it's a vibration, it's an energy. That breath has a steady, cosmic inclined resonance. It has a vibration, it has a number that's attached to it. And so that to me carries, that is part of the letting go. That is part of the sweating, so to speak, the toll that I speak of. It's sweating all this out. And the strange thing is, there's a secret privilege of being the one who walks them home. I don't want that to sound selfish or ego-centered or anything, but it is a sacred privilege. It's like I've been tapped on my shoulder, or the whispers that I hear, they're meant specifically for me. And it's a sacred thing that I get to be a part of this, that I get to have an honor and a grace to be doing something that is greater than myself. I can honestly tell you, it's not easy to carry this work. Anybody who says it is, I'm not sure what your death walking or what your death doula is all about, but for me, it's not light, it's not clean, and it's not always kind to the body. It's not always kind to the family. It's not kind to the mind. Just look at dementia or Alzheimer's. There is a lot of, let's just say I don't flinch when it comes to all the realms of what the dying process will look like, of what a dying situation is all about. So when all this stuff has been pent up, has built up inside of me, when the noise gets a little bit louder than I can take, I go to a lodge. And if I don't find a lodge, I create one in my backyard. It's amazing what you can do with tents and stones. And I do have a collection of stones. I collect crystals, so of course I have a collection of stones. So I do the lodge, and I sweat it out. And believe it or not, when I sweat it out, it's a release for me. It's a meditation. This last time there was so much crying. It was just, I didn't know where it came from. And, I let the stones speak to me. I let the steam speak to me. I watched the shadows. And during this time, it's like a vision quest. It's a place where, reality switches. Um, I open a channel, if you will, or maybe it's opened for me because of the manner in which I am giving myself to. I am releasing it, and so the ancestors. And sometimes, I use the word ancestors because it's a word that everyone can relate to, but it's the whispering. I don't always know if they're my ancestors, but I do know they're ancestors of human beings, of souls. Some seem to be of who I have walked and held, and others, I'm not sure if it's just because of my calling. It's because of how closely I step on the fringe of being into two worlds, that it just, I just randomly hear the whispers, and maybe they're meant for someone else. Maybe they're meant for me. I'm not sure. Some of them I know, like I was saying, and some of them I don't. Some feel like stars. I can feel their cosmic energy. I can feel that divine webbing that connects everything, and some feel like bones. It's almost like my bones replicate that leftover, that resonating death that's left over in the bones. I can feel it in my bones even. But through it all, when the whispers come, or even sometimes it's just visions, I'll get flashes of, a shadow of a face or a voice or something that will come. But the one thing I know for sure is they do watch over me. They tend my energy when I'm in the sweat lodge. It's kind of like the fish who travel on the little fish and who travel on the bigger fish and clean them and keep them free of parasites. And it's a symbiotic relationship I feel when I step into the sweat lodge. It's like I said, they tend to my energy just like I watch nature tend to do its form. They hold my living vibration in a flickering flame, and that's what it feels like. And that's how simplistic it is for me. That's how realistic it is for me in a way too. And they remind me time and time again, every time I go to a sweat lodge, every time I enter, go through my vision quest, as I like to call them, I never feel alone. I always feel comforted. Not to say that I don't feel uncomfortable sometimes, but in the same tone, I feel that I'm safe and I have protection. And in those hours, the only word that I really know to describe it, it's like compressed time folding in on itself. If you've ever watched a sci-fi or any documentary where they zip through a wormhole or drop off into a black hole, into the abyss, that's kind of sort of how I feel. I feel like time is folding in on itself. Sometimes I get flashes, moments, lifetimes, questions, doubts. They're all rising in the steam. They're settling like ash, one right after another. Boom, boom, boom. And it's exhilarating. It's exhausting. It's demanding. It's an adventure. It's kind of like a puzzle that I'm supposed to figure out. And I guess for me, it represents like a cosmic time, someplace where I have slipped into, maybe a slipstream of some sort, if that's a really good way to explain it. But the one thing I do know is I am reminded humans have only been here for 90 seconds in the grand scale of cosmic time. 90 seconds. And it just blows my mind to know that I have the privilege and the honor of being in this sweat lodge and hearing the whispers of souls and ancient ones, and it's been 90 seconds. And I, myself, that's the other realization. I have only been here 90 seconds too. So part of that is I cut myself some slack. I'm doing pretty good for being here on a cosmic level of 90 seconds. My Earth time lapses doesn't compare to what the cosmic universal time frame is. And yet somehow millions of years of wisdom lay out before me like a map. I can almost read. Like I said, it's kind of like a puzzle. You know, I'm given certain parts and I'm putting it together. It's like having a book. I know the whole book, but I don't really know the first couple paragraphs. And so that's a dynamic that I go with. I sit somewhere between Earth and the not yet, between the tangible and the ether. I feel there's giving and receiving. It's like some sort of interstellar lost ancient ancestor who never really left. They've been there. It's a guardian. It's their calling. It's their service work. And it's strange. It's very, very, very strange, but it's very beautiful. It's lonely sometimes. A lot of times, as a matter of fact. And that's part of the session too, because I'm alone again in the session in an earthly fathom, but I am surrounded by mystical, intangible, but absolutely knowing the grace and honor of these souls that surround and wrap around me. And it reminds me that as much as it is ritual to me also means self-care in a lot of ways. Because when you walk the fringe like I do and so many others, when you live in both worlds, you don't really fit in either. It's like you're a temporal being of being exactly in both worlds when need be. You know, it plucks you from one world to the other. And so it's hard to understand how you can tether, how you can ground in two worlds for me. And this is something that I struggle with. But I also know that when I go into the sweat lodge, when I do the self-care, it does give me it gives me a sense of not reality, but of exactly what it is. And maybe that's the whole point. Maybe I'm not meant to choose. Maybe I'm not meant to be maybe I'm just meant to be the bridge, the witness, the one who walks between. And being the bridge is good. A bridge helps everybody on both sides. You know, it's a pathway, it's a connection, it's a opening. And that's something that when I walked away from this particular sweat lodge, that was something that I was okay with. I don't always understand how it works, but I'm not supposed to. And I knew that many, many moons ago. Some messages that I get, they take days, weeks, months, and some I get right away. It's instant. The minute I, leave the sweat lodge, and I usually take a very cold shower, or if I'm near, for this one in particular, I had access to a lap pool. So I went in that, and they keep it fairly cold, and it was, answers just started bouncing into my head once I was in there. Some, like I said, they arrive very clear. Like this moment, like me right now speaking this out. It's still damp with the memory of the lodge, so it resonates. The energy, the vibration still lingers. And so that's what was clear to me, was that I needed to put this into a podcast. I needed to give it words. I needed to give it my voice. I needed to finish the release, so to speak. I mean, the Sweat Lodge was just the beginning. The Vision Quest was the middle. The clarity came, and now the action. And the action is, doing this particular podcast. I'll keep going back, make no mistake, to the stones, to the steam, to the silence, just to see what comes next. Like I said, always an adventure, always wanting to learn, always being called back. And this is the path that I walk. This is the pulse that I have. This is the calling. This is the service work. This is the sacred fringe, like I've talked about, that I walk. It's where I truly, truly cosmically belong. And it took me a very long time to understand this, and many, many sweat lodges, and so much journaling, and sound healing, and meditation, and just anything and everything that you can possibly, think of it. I've done it, been through it, however you want to look at. And if you've ever felt like you live between two worlds, not quite here, but not quite gone, maybe you belong here too. With the breath, with the bones, with the whispering, maybe it is. Maybe you listening to me right now, hearing this story, hearing my weekend of going through a sweat lodge. Excuse me. And if you are, then I would like to let you know that you're right where you need to be. And welcome to my world. Good night, and thank you.